Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be teaching you guys how to ride a motorcycle. I'll be showing you this on a 50cc two-stroke, and even though it is classified as a moped, all the controls still work the exact same as a motorcycle. So in this video I'll be going over how to use the brakes, the throttle, clutch, and if you go to the other side, how to use the shifter. So before starting the video, I just want to talk about the importance of wearing protective gear. And the absolute bare minimum should always be a good helmet. Doesn't matter whether it's a dirt bike helmet like this or a more sport helmet like this. They will all protect your head a lot better in a crash than if you weren't wearing one. And of course, the more gear the better, which is also why you should get some good gloves. And depending on where you live, in some countries like where I live, on a motorcycle, motorcycle shoes and I believe even pants are required on a motorcycle, including with gloves and a helmet. But obviously, doesn't matter what the regulations in your country say, the more gear the better, and the more gear you have, the safer you will be. Alright, so about the bike, first thing I want to start is with the brakes, because I think that it's good to know how to stop before you learn how to go. Alright, so unlike a car and a motorcycle, you can control your brakes separately from front and back. So at your foot over here, which would be located on your right foot, you've got the rear brake, and then on your right hand you've got the front brake. And this is something you generally have to get used to a little bit, because it's so different to a car or to maybe a bicycle. And it is just something that I would highly recommend you just slightly get used to. So just hop on your bike and just kind of feel how it feels to use a rear brake or a handbrake if you've never used one before. For me, using a foot brake was very weird for me at first, because I used to ride bicycles and it was completely different. So just slightly get used to that. And a few tips to know as well is that when you are on a wet road or on a dirt road like I am right now, it is not recommended to use too much of the front brake, because when you brake too hard, the tire will lock up, and if that happens to the front tire, you are going to crash. It's very dangerous. But if it happens to you, to your rear tire, so if you lock up the rear tire, it'll be fine. You might crash, but it's generally a lot safer than locking up the front tire, which is just one thing you have to keep in mind. Okay, so with the brakes out the way, we can now get on to how to use the clutch, which is located right here onto your left hand. This is the clutch, and you'll have to use it to start, to shift, and yeah, that's basically it. Coupled with this, to shift, you're going to need to use your shifter. And this might seem a little bit weird. Oh wow, my shifter's loose. Whatever. This might seem a little bit weird because it's different than in a car, but it's actually very simple. Push it up to go up a gear, push it down to go down a gear. So it's generally pretty easy. One little thing though is that neutral is in between first and second gear, which may be a little tricky to understand and hard to find, but it's actually very easy. So let me show you what you want to do to find neutral. Right, first of all, to know if you're in neutral, just move your bike forward and backwards, and like mine right now moves no problem, which means I am in neutral. Of course, you can also check it on the dash, but that's turned off right now. So let's kick it into gear. There you go. Now it's in first gear, and you can see I can't push it, right? And then to get it into neutral, just double check that you are in first gear. So kick it all the way down until you know now it doesn't do anything, and then just give it a little kick like up, like so, and then now should be like so in neutral again. And this is important because in order to start your bike, it has to be in neutral. So that's always something important to know. So another thing if I didn't explain it, your throttle is on your right hand like here, and you twist it down to push up the throttle. So once you know all of these and you know all the controls, you know where you define your brakes, you know where to find your clutch, you know where to find your shifter, it's time to start your bike. So in my case, it's a kickstart, and it should start right up. So in order to drive away, what you are going to do is fully pull in your clutch, kick your bike in gear, and then you are going to have to slowly release the clutch while giving a little bit of gas. And one little trick to understand how to do this is to just yet again pull in your clutch, kick your shifter down to go into first gear. You can see my neutral going off, and what you can do is to just slowly let go of your clutch, and you can see that my bike eventually is going to start moving, right? That's like your gripping point, when your clutch is going to start gripping and your bike wants to move. Although you do it too quick, your bike is going to stall. So just try to find that point where it starts to grip, like so, without really using your throttle too much. And in my case, I can also see my lights dimming down because the engine is stalling out very quickly because it's a very weak engine. Then what you want to try and do is find that point and just give it a little more gas whilst slowly releasing your clutch again. So first, find that gripping point right there. Give it a little bit more gas, and then slowly let out the clutch a little more, and then you are driving. And this can be one of the trickiest parts when first learning how to ride, and you see a lot of beginner riders stalling their engine, and that's fine, it's normal, it happens to everyone. So just to prevent this from happening too much, just try to practice this as much as you can. And like I am right now, go to like an empty road where there's no cars, maybe go to an empty parking lot so you can practice this a little more before going out onto an open, busy road. So just try that again, just find the point, give a little more throttle, and ride off. And then whilst doing this, you can also get used to your brakes while you're at it. So just try this a couple times and get used to your bike, because every bike may be a little different. So next up is shifting. And there's a little bit of a sequence when it comes to shifting. So first step is fully letting go of your throttle, pulling in your clutch, kicking your shifter upwards to your designated gear, letting go of the clutch, and giving it some more gas. That's the whole sequence to shifting. And at first, I'd highly recommend you trying to do this slowly so you don't make any mistakes. And then from there, you can go and try to become a little bit faster at it. So let me show you what it would look like trying to do it slowly to show you guys everything to do. So I'm gonna start from first gear again, then just drive off, and then let go of the throttle, clutch, up a gear, let go of the clutch, more throttle. And then you can try to do this a little more quicker by just, and then even a little quicker if you want to. And then that should become very, very natural. And if you want to now, you can just pull in your clutch and then kick your gear back down to first gear. And you can try that a few more times just to kind of get used to how to shift and finding out how your bike shifts and what it likes and what it doesn't like. And another thing is you have to know how to downshift. So now we're just shifting up, but if you're shifting down, you can't just rely on pulling in your clutch the whole time. The way to do this, it's basically the same. There's just one little trick to it. Wait, hold up. So the same thing, let go of your throttle, pull in your clutch, kick your gear down this time, and then before you let go of your clutch, you want to give it a little bit of gas so your engine revs a little higher, and then slowly release your clutch in the meantime so that the engine speed matches the tire speed. Because when you're going to downshift, your engine is gonna want to go into higher gears. Therefore, you give it a little bit of gas so it doesn't just out of nowhere kick into the from low RPMs to high RPMs, which might push you forward just a little bit. So let me show you what that would look like. So I'm gonna go up into third gear, and now I'm gonna go down into second. You see, let go of the throttle, kick it down, give it more gas, and there you go. Now I'm in second. And this is generally only used when you're braking or braking in front of a turn and you still need to be driving, because if you're braking for a traffic light, you can just pull in your clutch if you want to, or you can just let it coast off into the same gear. And then same with upshifting. You can practice this a little more to get faster at it, which would eventually look something like this. And if you're just gonna brake, it's just flipping the throttle real quick, but this is just something you have to learn. Another thing that some beginners may struggle with, by the way, is knowing when to shift, because there's three main methods knowing when to shift. The first one is looking at your RPMs and knowing kind of shift at around 3,000 to 5,000 RPMs, whatever your bike needs, and then just looking at when your bike's in those RPMs and then shift up or shift down if it's too low. My bike, however, doesn't have an RPM teller on its indicator, which means that doesn't work for me. The second method, which I can do, is shifting based off of the speed. Which would, you could search up online the speed specific like time to shift of your bike, because it depends on each bike, and then just shifting when you get to that speed. And the third method, which is my preferred method, is just going off of sound or off of feeling. The reason why I prefer this method more than the other two is because if you're using your speedometer or your RPM teller, you're gonna have to look down at your screen, which takes your eyes off of the road. And on a motorcycle, it's super important to always keep focused on the road, because if there is an accident, you're most likely the one that gets hurt, which is why I just prefer shifting off of sound instead of looking down at my indicator. So that's about everything that you need to know about how to ride a motorcycle. Just make sure that you practice this in a safe space without traffic like this one, or maybe an empty parking lot, so that you know everything about your bike, you're confident how to ride one, so that you're not still messing about with your controls on the road, because obviously that's dangerous. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, and make sure to ride safe.